Hey guys, I am here today to recommend 10 books under 200 pages because sometimes we just want a short book. And I'm not saying that these are necessarily really quick reads, just throwing some on the floor. I'm not saying that all of these are really quick reads, so some of them are. Some of them are quite intense little reads, but I wanted to make a video to recommend short books. Obviously, most of the poetry books that I recommend in general are under 200 pages as well, and I have done several poetry related videos which I will link down below, and I will be making more poetry recommendation videos in the future because you have been asking me to do that. The first book that I would like to recommend is 194 pages, and this is NP by Banana Yoshimoto. Now, I was going to recommend Kitchen, but I couldn't find it on my shelf, and I think maybe I've lent it to someone and I can't remember who that was. If you have my copy of Kitchen, please give it back. So Kitchen is the other one that I was going to recommend. It's probably also under 200 pages, and it's a really lovely novel that discusses relationships and also discusses being transgender, and it's really interesting and beautiful and great. Now, so there's that one, which I have somewhere or someone has taken, I'm not sure. Anyway, there's also this, so two for the price of one, here we go. There's NP, which is also by Banana Yoshimoto, who's a great Japanese writer, and this is about a translator who's trying to translate a collection of stories, short stories, into Japanese. It is the last book that this Japanese writer ever wrote, and he wrote it in English, and the translators who have tried to translate it before have all died, and they think that maybe this book is cursed. It's a very satisfactory, compact little book, and I enjoy her writing very much indeed. The next book I would like to mention is Good Morning Midnight by Jean Wheeze, which is my favourite Jean Wheeze book, and this copy is extremely battered, as you can see, because I've loved it a lot. Most of Jean Wheeze's books are very autobiographical, so this is about a woman who's left her husband, who has gone to Paris, and she's musings on war and on broken hearts, broken relationships, and trying to find herself, but sadly trying to find herself at the bottom of a wine glass. So it's very modernist, very stream of consciousness, very beautiful, very tragic, very sad, and I would recommend that you pick it up. This one I've mentioned several times before, but you know, I'm just going to mention it again, which is New World Fairy Tales by Cassandra Parkin, which is published by Salt and is just over 150 pages. This is a collection of short stories set out like they're interviews. So the beginning of the story starts out with questions, and then it goes into the story in full, and it takes its inspiration from some of the famous Grimm fairy tales and sets them in America. So the first one is Cinderella, and I don't want to tell you too much about it because it would spoil it, but it's fun trying to work out which ones are based on what. This is one of the most heartbreaking books I've ever read, and this is The Diving Bell and the Butterfly by John Dominic Bowlby, and this is translated from French and is autobiographical. The narrator, who was the head of, what magazine was it? It's Elle. He was the editor-in-chief of Elle, and he suffered a massive stroke and then got locked-in syndrome, so he couldn't move at all apart from his eyelid. He was able to blink, and he wanted to write about his life, and he found himself thinking that he was in a diving bell, you know, like underwater in this heavy metal container, and couldn't move and couldn't speak, couldn't talk to his family. Really, really heartbreaking. So he decided to write about his life, and he did that by having a speech therapist come in, and she would point at letters, and whenever she reached the letter that he wanted her to write down, he would blink, and the whole novel is written by him blinking in letters, and it's absolutely phenomenal. I'm sure quite a lot of you will have read this, but if you haven't read it, I recommend it. The film is also wonderful too. Next one that I would like to mention is Body Electric by C.E. Smith, and this is 121 pages long, and this was published as a collaboration between Shakespeare and Company in Paris and The White Review, which is a literary journal in the UK. They put out a competition to find an exciting new novella, and this is that. It is a man called Tabor who performs autopsies, and it's about his job, it is about death, and it's also about the relationship that he has with his daughter as a single parent. It's a really subtle novel, and it creeps under your skin a little bit. The next book that I like to mention is The Waves by Virginia Woolf. Now, this is often one that I say is my favourite Virginia Woolf, though, I mean, picking favourites seems a bit pointless when it comes to her work because I love them so much. This is quite a complex little novel that has the voices of many different people and forming like a collective identity and their own identity and what it means to be a person, and it's written in her stream of consciousness way. The voices are sometimes difficult to decipher one between the next, and they all flow together like the sea, and it's a really experimental, lovely book. The next one which I'm going to mention is Ali Smith's short story collection Free Love and Other Stories, which is 139 pages. It's her first short story collection. Beautiful stories, often blending gender, not really saying, you know, what gender the characters are, and just all about different kinds of love and how we feel about people, past and present. It's a great book. Obviously, she's one of my favourite authors. The next one I'd like to mention is one I read like ages ago but have still really fond memories of, which is Naive Super by Erlend Loe, which is a Norwegian novel that's been translated, and it's the only one by Erlend Loe I have read. It's a really subtle book about someone trying to find themselves. I would say if you like the perks of being a wallflower, then you will enjoy this. Another one I'd like to mention is Swimming Home by Deborah Levy. It's a great summer read. I know that summer is coming to a close now, but I don't think that means that you shouldn't read it. It was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize a couple of years ago. It is very Gatsby-esque, set in France, about these families who are sharing a villa there. It gets very dark and dirty quite quickly. And then finally, the last one I would like to mention is He Once by Allison Moore, which is her second novel. Her first one was The Lighthouse, which was nominated for the Man Booker Prize the same year as Deborah Levy's book. This is her second. It is about a man who is losing his memory, and he's trying to remember people from his past, and it is again like a really gentle character building book where you just slowly fall in love with the people in it. It's about a man called Lewis. It deals with loss and religion and sexuality, and it's one of those slowly, deeply affecting books, and I enjoyed reading it a lot. Those are the 10 short books that I would tell you about today. If you have recommendations for me of short books you think I might like, then leave them in the comments down below. I hope you guys are having a great week, and I will speak to you very soon. Lots of bookish love. Bye.